My husband may have cheated on me with my dead best friend and had an affair baby. My best friend since elementary school, who I'll call Alice, passed away in February from cancer. She had a 2-year-old daughter who went into the custody of her mom after she passed away, who I'll call Alexis. Last month Alexis showed up on our doorstep unannounced, telling my husband he needs to take responsibility for his child and either take custody or start paying child support. She says that Alice had told her when her daughter was born who the father was, but didn't want anything to do with him. To answer the inevitable, Alice was a traveling nurse and made a lot of money, which is the only reason I can think of for why she didn't go for child support. During this conversation my husband had the worst panic attack he's ever had, so we had to end the conversation before I could get more details. I was iffy on believing his story. He said that Alice's daughter is probably his, but that it isn't what I think. Almost 3 years ago we threw a large housewarming party as we just moved into our dream home. Alice was in town, and set to be at the party, but I was called into work before she got there. I didn't get back till after 3 a.m. The party was winding down. My husband had passed out upstairs, and Alice had already left the party, which at the time I did find strange as we hadn't seen each other in months. My husband claimed he woke up in the middle of the night to Alice on top of him, but he passed out again before he could say anything. He claimed he never told me because he was worried I wouldn't believe him, which I don't know if I do. He showed me some texts he sent his best friend the next day asking for his advice about him, thinking someone R-worded him, but if he cheated he could have had that conversation as evidence, especially since he never said Alice specifically. Ever since the party he has been very distant with Alice, and after she had her daughter he would even find excuses not to be around the house when she would visit at all. I don't know if that's because he cheated, or if Alice did actually R-word him and this was his trauma response. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I've known Alice since we were children and she had never come across as that kind of person. But I've also known my husband for over a decade and he's not once ever given the inclination of a cheater. He's an attractive guy and I've seen the looks he gets at the gym and he's never even given more than a glance. What the hell should I do? How do I figure out what the truth is here when Alice isn't even around to defend herself? She never even implied she liked my husband, let alone want to sleep with him. I told my husband he needs to get a DNA test before anything is decided on the child's part, but in the meantime he needs to move out while I think about what I'm going to do here. Relevant comments. Women go decades without admitting when they are R-worded because of fear of people not believing them. I'm gonna be honest, men will go twice as long and preferably take it to the grave because almost always and automatically told it's not even possible for a man to be R-worded. I know you have to go on instinct, but his story makes sense with the text he sent his friend. He also would hope to never be around the woman he is sure R-word him again, which is why he made himself scarce after the fact. If he's a smart man like you claim, he would not have wanted you alone with Alice basically ever because she could reveal an affair. He would have tried to separate your bond. Instead he hid, because she couldn't really say she R-word him. You say she wasn't a fan of his at all. She thought you could do better. So why wouldn't she spin it as he came onto her? It's because she was the one in the wrong. Update: I've come to the realization that my husband is being truthful. My best friend R-worded him. Several people pointed out that with Alice not liking my husband, if it was an affair, she would have told me when she was dying, if only to separate us. You're absolutely right. I was there, in the room while she passed. I held her hands for days, we talked about so much. If it was just an affair, she would have told me. But if she R-worded my husband, she wouldn't have said a word. That's the type of thing horrible people take to the grave. I've also come to the realization that I made a terrible mistake asking my husband to leave for a few days while I gather my thoughts. Not to make excuses, but losing my best friend to cancer, a long cancer fight at that, was brutal. To say that I was devastated wouldn't do it justice. That it happened only 6 months ago, I'm still feeling it every day. So to have this thrown on me, it's like I'm losing her all over again. Either she betrayed me, and F my husband, or she betrayed me and R-worded my husband. Not only have I lost her, but now I've lost the good memories, an entire lifetime's worth. It was impossible for me to look at him and not also see her, and be struck with the horror and realization of that loss all over again. I felt I needed to be able to break down, grieve, and think without the fresh wave of loss I got every time I saw him. As for the baby, we of course spoke with a lawyer, and my husband was very adamant about not having anything to do with the child, but was willing to offer financial support as needed. So we agreed to do a DNA test immediately to prove paternity, and then go from there. To everyone's surprise, Alice's daughter is not my husband's. We ended up testing twice, both very definitive. The first test we performed ourselves as mentioned, and another after Alexis refused to believe the first test, and took my husband to court for child support. For a single second this whole thing made me second guess if my husband was R-worded, that this could have been her way of forcing my husband to admit to an affair. But after talking with Alexis, I don't think that was the plan. Alexis says that Alice told her my husband was the father under strict confidence, demanding that she never, ever tell me or my husband. We were only ever to be told if Alexis died before Alice's daughter was old enough to take care of herself, so that she wouldn't end up in foster care. The only reason Alexis came to us then, instead of keeping that secret, is because Alice's life insurance wasn't being released yet, and she was out of options. She also felt I should know my husband and her daughter had had an affair. This all reaffirms in my mind that Alice did R-word my husband, with the expectation of getting pregnant with his child. She obviously had other partners at the time, since one of them fathered her daughter, but no one knows who. It's clear to me that Alice believed it was my husband. I did suggest Alexis upload a sample to Ancestry, see if any matches pop up, but as Alice traveled all over for work, I don't know that anything will ever come of that. In truth, I've washed my hands of the situation. Alice did enough damage, and I don't particularly plan to be around for any more. My husband and I have gone through a lot of counseling, and will likely continue for a while. This whole situation damaged us both, my husband more obviously, and I don't think we'll fully heal for a very long while. I do, however, have some good news. While my husband and I rediscovered what makes us love each other the most, I got pregnant. We're expecting our first baby, a girl, in a little over 3 months, and my husband and I are ecstatic. And no, we will not be naming her after my dead ex-best friend.